Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 5th annual conference for the British Institute of Kitchen, Bedroom and Bathroom Installation. We have a record number of attendees this year, representing all areas of the KBB sector: manufacturers, suppliers, distributors, retailers, media, and installation businesses, as well as a number of other key stakeholders. And you are all very welcome indeed. My name is Hannah Previtt. I'm a business journalist for The Times, and I am delighted to be your host today. My role is to guide you through the event, to introduce our speakers, and ensure you have plenty of time to get your questions answered in our Q&A this afternoon. Now, the BiKBBI team has put together a brilliant agenda for you today, which covers many of the topics that we regularly write about at The Times, from the impact of the cost of living crisis on consumer confidence to the growing importance of sustainability. And a hot topic, both for us at the paper and here at this conference today, is the skills crisis, which affects just about every industry that I can think of. It is fitting that we are meeting here, just a stone's throw from the Palace of Westminster, during National Apprenticeship Week, as apprenticeships really are a vital mechanism for building the skilled workforce of the future, not just in construction, but across many other hospitality sector, for example, and retail, even traditionally white-collar industries like banking and finance. In fact, I've written today about a guy who did a Google apprenticeship a couple of years ago and has now started his own tech business and is doing brilliant stuff. But he was very much driven down the route of going to university, even though it wasn't appropriate for him. Now, we have a packed schedule today with a keynote from BiKBBI's CEO, Damien Walters, to kick things off. Then we will hear from Mark Farmer, founder of Cast Consultancy and author of the Farmer Review, who will give us an update on the UK construction labour market, before we get a sector overview from Laura Pardo of AMA Research. With such an uncertain few months ahead, I'm looking forward to her insights on the outlook for construction and home improvements for the rest of 2023 and beyond. And then this afternoon, I will have the great pleasure of welcoming a panel of expert speakers with whom I shall discuss another topic of vital importance: installer regulation, before a final keynote from Fergus Harradence, Deputy Director of Infrastructure and Construction at BEIS, who will talk about how the government can support the construction and home improvement industries through the current economic turbulence. I'd also like to draw your attention to our roundtable sessions just before lunch, where we will split into two groups to discuss two topics: sustainability and skills and apprenticeships, each for around 30 to 40 minutes each. And we'll give you more detail on how those will work later on today. But I do know from hosting the Times CEO Summit just how valuable these sessions are. And as we've just discovered, you're not a shy bunch, so do please get involved. So one last thing, please feel free to use your social media channels to post content about today's event, and don't forget to use our hashtag, which is BiKBBICon23. Before we kick off, on behalf of BiKBBI, I would like to thank our conference sponsors, SenseTech and Cooker, without whom it would not be possible to put on such a fantastic event. Right, I'm out of breath, and that's quite enough from me, so let's get started. My first job today is to welcome to the stage Stephen Metcalfe, MP for South Basildon and East Thurrock, and BiKBBI's patron, to say a few words and formally open the conference. Welcome, Stephen.
Hannah, thank you very much. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much indeed, as ever, for inviting me to attend this 5th annual conference and to formally open it. I can't believe that another year has passed since we were here. And it's been obviously quite an eventful year, but I'll say more about that shortly. So, as you've heard, I'm Stephen Metcalfe. I'm Member of Parliament for South Basildon and East Thurrock, and for the last 10 years, it has been my privilege to be the patron of BiKBBI. Now, why am I a patron? Well, there are three reasons, really. Firstly, and probably the most importantly, is Damien is very persuasive. But I'm also the local MP for where the organisation is based. And there are three parts to my role as a Member of Parliament. There's the things I do in Parliament, the things I do for individuals on a daily basis. But the third, and probably the most rewarding part, is being out in the community and helping to support various charities, businesses and organisations. And so when Damien invited me to get involved, I absolutely wanted to help. And the reason I wanted to help is that prior to politics, I was actually in business. I ran a printing company with my wife, my mother and my sister, a family business. And so I know what being involved in small business is like and how difficult it can be at times. And so therefore for an organisation to step up and try and represent those in the sector, I wanted to help and be involved. And the third reason is that I have a deep interest in business generally. I know that the prosperity and growth in this country will be based upon business endeavour and not government intervention. It's the people who get up every day who drive this country forward. And therefore, again, I wanted to be involved in supporting them. Because it's their endeavour and that sense of achievement that they get daily that keeps the wheels turning. And they're the ones that innovate and create a vibrant economy. Now, as I said, another year has passed, and it has been quite a year politically and economically. I want to put aside the political turmoil, if I may, but I do accept fully that it has had quite an impact. It's not given the economy the sense of stability that it needs, that businesses need to thrive. But I do hope that now we are on a more stable footing and that we can start to look ahead and deal with some of the challenges that we are facing. And there are challenges. They are huge, but they're not just affecting the UK. These are challenges that are being faced around the world. There are issues around supply chain. And while the UK, and this is evidence of it, a full room, which we didn't have last year, now feels like it is post-pandemic, the rest of the world hasn't necessarily changed at the same pace. Really, it is only this year that China is beginning to properly emerge from what is effectively a 3-year lockdown. And that has had significant impacts on, as I say, that supply chain. And it will start, and it will take time to recover. Of course, there is the cost of the pandemic itself to deal with. Governments around the world borrowed billions of pounds. They printed money, pumped it into their economies to keep countries going. But as they and central banks start to count the cost of that borrowing, interest rates have risen and have taxes. And that is obviously having a dampening effect on consumer demand. And this has all been exacerbated by an illegal and immoral war in Ukraine. Russia's invasion of its neighbour has had a huge impact on global stability and, of course, on the supply and therefore the cost of energy for both individuals and businesses alike. And this is all added up to a cost of living squeeze, where we've seen inflation rise to rates that we haven't seen in decades. But as I say, this is not just a UK issue. This is a global issue. However, despite all of this, I think the government has remained absolutely committed to providing support. It's provided support during the pandemic to the tune of £500 billion, which is £500 billion, or 500,000 million, an extraordinary figure. And now we will provide support for businesses and individuals as they face rising energy costs. Because there is no point in surviving one crisis if it's the next one that we are currently facing floors us. Now, I'm conscious that I only have really 5 minutes, and I've already gone slightly over, so I will cut some of what I wanted to say. But I think the key issue here is that if we are going to prosper in the future, we need to make sure that we are improving our general productivity. And productivity is improved by having a skilled and dedicated workforce. And as we've heard, there are huge skill gaps in the UK economy as a whole, and we need to fill those. there are millions of people who left the workforce during the pandemic. They either left because of wanting to change their work-life balance, they left through ill health, or they left because they decided they wanted to retire. So we need firstly to encourage some of those to come back. But to encourage them to come back, well, I think we need to adopt a more flexible employment model. Not many people will want to, having taken those choices, potentially come back into full-time work. But they have huge amounts of experience. And so I often ask people to think about how you might encourage people to come back on terms that suit both you as a business and them as an individual. And of course, the other way we can fill the skills gap, as we heard from Hannah, is through training and apprenticeships. This is Apprenticeship Week. I've always been a big fan of apprentices and apprenticeships. In a way, I grew up in an apprentice trade. As I said, I was a printer, a trade that moved from being apprenticed and analog through to digital over the 25 years I worked in it. But that was a path that you can't learn in university. You learn it on the job. And that's why I value apprenticeships. Not everyone is suitable to go to university, or the university doesn't suit them. And I know that the sector as a whole has done a huge amount in creating apprenticeships. But there is always, I believe, more to do, and I'm sure you would accept that. And I think one of the things that we need to do is communicate better, is to get out there and demonstrate that apprenticeships lead to well-paid, valued, creative, and rewarding employment. And therefore, we have a role, me as patron, you as practitioners, to highlight and promote the sector and the diverse range of opportunities that exist within it, and then help people access those apprenticeships that you're creating. Now, the government this week has announced that what it is doing is on the UCAS website, it is putting apprenticeships in all their various guises side by side with university degrees to create that parity so that people can have a choice of opportunity and a choice that potentially suits them, suits their future, but ultimately suits you and the UK economy. As I say, I recognise these are challenging times. I recognise that many businesses are being squeezed. But the outlook for the country as a whole, and I've got a whole range of statistics to show this, is good. We will recover from this. Prices will fall. The economy will grow again. The government will be there.